Steph.
I'm Michael.
And today we're checking out Bitoku.
By Devere. 1 to 4 players.
Yes, I was so excited for this game just because of how gorgeous it is. It's one of those like beautiful games that are just I'm drawn into. I'm like, oh my god, I have to play that game right now.
Though I'm much more into primary colors than pastels, but it is very beautiful.
It is very beautiful. Shall we take a look?
Yeah, let's take a look at this.
Okay.
Let's go to the overhead. The board is huge.
It's very big.
Ta-da.
It's not
Look at
even,
this. Look how big this board is.
It's not even all in here. It's missing like a whole card length of board
like
at the top.
At the very top,
There's a couple tracks.
are the tracks that can keep track of the seasons and the number of rounds that we play. We're going to play through 4 rounds. Now, you keep track of these with these fantastic wooden markers. And look how beautiful these things are.
Amazing.
And here's the thing, though. The turn flow goes along so smoothly, you really don't even need it.
Yeah.
In my opinion. You can usually keep track.
Yeah, for sure.
That said, I love these
Chunky
detailed, chunky tokens.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's go ahead and push this
Back up.
so we can see the bottom score track.
Our turn order is also here for those who want to know what those meeples are doing.
Yeah, so Steph is going first. We do not have our normal player colors. The player colors in this are white, purple,
Well, more like
green, and
yellow.
brown.
It's
Yeah,
like a yellow.
It's like an off-white.
It's like a light yellow.
Yes. Purple, which is more like a lavenderish, I guess.
Yeah.
And we don't even have these pulled out, but you have the green color, which is more like a, I don't know.
Aqua, teal.
And brown.
Yeah, the problem with the teal is that it really just blends in with the board.
Totally blends in.
So it will be hard to see it as it is.
My player color pretty much blends in with the board as well.
It's true.
But the green, the green is just like the green background. Tech says I play green when I can. Yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah.
I usually play blue. Steph will play red, but when red's not available, it's either purple or white for her.
Mm-hmm.
So, in this game, we're going to start off with Spring, and Spring is the awakening of the forest. We're going to summon our yokai. We're going to draw cards. We all have a basic set of yokai cards that will let us do the basic actions that are available on the board. Take a look at all the 5 different basic yokai. There's also a Yama Uba card, which can be used at the end of the game to represent any of the yokai. But you specify at the end of the game what you want her to represent. So, but she's not available at the start of the game. Notice that on the board, you'll see an advanced version of a Kitsune, got another advanced Kitsune, and an Imomushi right there. We've also got some other cards that are placed perpendicular to those cards, which we will get to in a bit. So we're going to take our cards, we're going to shuffle them up, and we are going to draw 4 of them. We have 5 cards. Is that correct, Steph?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. You're going to draw until you have 4 cards in hand. You're going to choose 3 of them, and you're going to discard 1 of them. Then we are going to collect any rewards on the purple dream crystals that we have on our board. We currently don't have any dream crystals on our board, but for example, if I had this purple crystal on my board, it would give me 1 sake as an income. Notice it's got the purple hand at the very bottom. It's being held out like this. So sort of like this direction. So I would get 1 sake. There are 4 different types of goods in this game. There is stone and jade. Oh, look, you can even see it with the green screen. And wood and sake. Ta-da. And the stone and the jade don't have anything on the other side of them, but the wood and the sake do. We also have amulets, and amulets can be used to increase our dice value. This is a +1 amulet, so it would let the die go up a value of 1. You also have the ability to get +2 and +3 amulets, and they cannot be used partially. You have to be able to, you can't split them up. You must use it all at one time. You can't like use part of a 2 and use only one part of it and get 1 in change. Can't do that. So, with our 3 cards that we have, these are the 3 cards that we will play sometime on our turn. When it is your turn, you can play one of your yokai cards from your hand. So when you play it, you're going to play it onto your player board, and you are going to unlock the die that is next to it. We each have 3 dice set to a value of 3, 2, and 1 specifically. It doesn't matter what order they're in, because you can place these cards in whatever order you want to place them in. You're just going to put this card next to the die you want to unlock, and ting, that die is now available to be used on a future turn. Then you're going to activate the yokai card by carrying out that action, and this is optional because it's always going to be something good for you. Why would you not do it? Obviously. So this would give me either a wood or a stone, because it is one of these Emomushi cards. Then, if you have a crystal, a pink crystal to the right of the card, you would get to carry out the action of the crystal. I don't have any crystals at the start of the game, but for instance, if I had this pink crystal next to that card, I would automatically get a +1 amulet. It's good that I had all 3 types of crystals right here, so it's like, yes!
Worked out.
It did. So, what else can you do besides playing a yokai card? You could use an unlocked die on your player board. So I could take this on my next turn. I could take this die that I've unlocked, and I can place it up here in the forest area. I can move it to any of these forest areas up here on the board. Including any of these spots up here.
Yeah.
So, cannot place it on the other side of the river except for right here.
Right.
But let's say I decide to place it right here. Then I can do the forest and building actions. So, for a value of 3, I can either build a building, which are right here, or I can build a crystal, which are down here. If I'd only put my value of 2 up, I could do a building. If I'd put a die with a value of 1 up, I can move one of my kodamas up 1 space along these tracks. Notice.
Specifically here.
Specifically this track. Gotcha. Now notice we each have our little Bitokus. We've also got these brown kodamas on space 4. When you're playing a 2-player game, you must place a neutral colored kodama on each of those tracks. Basically, it will take one of those positions. You're trying to get as far as you can along the track. And for example, with this one, first place at the end of the game will get 5 points. Second place will get 3 points. Third place will get 1 point.
Yeah.
So that will consume one of the 3 positions.
Yeah.
If for some reason 2 people are together, you're going to add the point values together and divide as evenly as possible, rounding down. So, let's see. After you do the forest action, then you can do the building action. Notice that this building has a 2 on it. If I have a die with at least a 2 value, I can perform this building action. But let's say Steph had at one point built a building out here and put a little mark on it to show that it is her building. I could use her building instead, as long as I've put a die out there with the correct value. I should put it in the right spot, shouldn't I? Mm-hmm. If I use this building, I can create this crystal, but Steph can get either a victory point, as specified by the little koi fish, or an amulet.
For using my building.
And I will show this to you up close. Now, whenever we're playing a 2-player game, we automatically have 1 building built in the lower left corner of each forest area. Now, let's say that I took an action to build a building. I would immediately get this action, which is move the kodama. Is that the correct term? The kodama 2 spaces along the track. Now, if you see one with a little red kodama, that means that you need to move one of your opponents back 1 space.
And you can't move the neutral player.
And you can't move someone back before the start position, obviously.
No, yeah.
So, let's see. What else can we do? You can, let's say on the following turn, I could play a card. I could not do a die because I haven't unlocked another die, but I could cross the river, moving my die across the river. If I move my die across the river, I can then, first I must, what's called perform an act of contrition. The first thing I have to do is reduce the value of the die by 1. So I'd lower it from a 3 to a 2. And then I can obtain the favor of the forest. I can either take one of these yokai cards. I can take one of these horizontal Bitoku cards, which are used to move my little critter along the little forest, the little Bitoku path along the side of the board. Or I can take one of these actions down here, which would be to help me out here.
Well, the
Steph.
first one is to take the Bitoku.
Oh, first one's Bitoku. The first one is
Yokai.
the second one is the yokai, and the third one is any 2 of these actions, which is to take a vision card,
to draw 1.
take 2, draw, choose one, to place a pilgrim next to a rock. We'll talk about that here in a second. What is that one? To take one of these 5 rocks here. We'll talk about that in a minute. And finally, to move one of your kodama. Whenever playing on the other side of the board, which is for 3 and 4 player games, it's a really nice double layer board. The solo and 2 player side is not double layer. But when you are playing on the double layer side, I believe there is a rule, correct me if I'm wrong, Steph, if I move a die across the river, I can only put it in a region if my die is equal to or higher than. Is that correct?
So when going to the forest, you have to play equal to or higher than.
In the forest region, not moving across the river.
When you move across the river, it's basically split.
It's separated out.
You can't choose which side, but with 2 players, you can
You
go
can choose
here
the side.
and you can choose one of those 2 options. Because we're so limited down here,
right.
It's easy to get locked out. Really easy to get locked out
right.
with 2 players.
Now, whenever we're playing and we've got 2 dice across the river, we are not going to be able to move any more dice up because that's basically where these dice stop.
Right.
So that's as far as it's going to go for this one round. Now, if I've put a 6 down and I move the 6 across the river, I don't lose just 1 pip. I lose 3 pips. Why? I don't know. That's just what the rule is. You go from a 6 down to a 3. If your die is super awesome, it must be really, really humble, performing a huge act of contrition. So that's how that works.
So that's the third possible.
That's the third possible. Or you can just pass and you're not going to play again this phase. You can only pass after you've played 3 yokai cards and put 3 dice on the board. Now, let's say I'd put my 6 out here and I'd put my 2 out and I'd put my 1 out and I'd move this across the river and I'd put this card out and I'd put this card out. I've done everything that I can except for this 6. I'm not required to move that 6 across the river.
Generally, you want to, though.
Depends on what you're wanting to do. But yes. I notice I can't move that die across the river because it's a 1. And I can't remove 1 from it to go across the river. So, take all these back. Hey, Deadpan.
Generally, you don't want to put 1s out on the board anyway. You want to try and boost them if you can. Absolutely.
Now, you usually boost dice by playing the amulets. And so you will play those amulets as a one-time boosting the die, and obviously those dice will lose value as they go across the river time and time again. So what are some of the other things on the board? Anytime you see this multi-symbol icon, it means you can take one of any of the 4 basic resources, or you could take 2 of or 3 of. Obviously, things with slashes, you can take one or the other. If you take 2 resources, you can basically, it's like taking this action 2 or 3 times. You can take 2 or 3 different resources. Anytime you see the staff icon, you'll also see this on this Yamauba card. That means that you can send one of your pilgrims along the path. So you'll notice on my board, I've got several pilgrims. A lot of them are asleep. But I've got 3 of them that are awakened. They are like those little minions on Despicable Me. It's sort of how I look at these.
Yeah, they are.
And so you will take this minion, you will start him out here, and then you will go a number of spaces, 1, 2, 3, or 4 spaces along the path. So I could go 1, 2, and stop here and take an amulet and 2 points. Or I could go 1, 2, 3, and stop and take 2 points, and then activate this tower. This is an A tower and a B tower. So you can activate this gate. Looks like I would get a crystal.
A discount too.
And you'll notice there is a little thumb, a little raised up thumb with a value of a 2 on it. So that means that any purchase that you make of crystals, it will cost you 2 less.
Which is free, because that's the most a crystal.
That's the most a crystal is going to cost you. But I'm going to talk about how to get these here in a minute. Now, once I've placed this guy here, or it's on the illuminated path or at a gate spot, you will then flip him over. He is now asleep. There's no reason to move to the next possibility, because it's always worth less points. Now, let's say Steph came along behind me. She cannot stop where I am. She will basically just jump over me to that next spot. Is that correct, Steph?
Yep, I just get fewer points.
Or if I bring one along, I'm just going to jump over. Now, whenever I have ended a previous pilgrimage at a gate, according to the rules, not on an illumination spot, but at a gate specifically, I can start out not back here, but at the footpath where the gate is. So I could start off going from here, and I could go 1, 2.
You could start back at start.
You can if you want. Exactly.
More points to be had
and
later on.
You can't go backwards along the path. So if I wanted to get this and these were already taken, I would have to start here. Yeah. And that would be fine.
Yeah.
You cannot cross the bridge until you've traveled 1 Bitoku path with your little critter down here. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But when you do cross the path, then you can have access to the next illumination spot and the B tower and the next illumination spot. When you've traveled 2 Bitoku paths, you can go all the way to the end. That's an 8 victory points and 3 amulet pieces.
Nice.
So, whenever you get crystals, you will awaken your pilgrims, depending on where you place them. You have room for 5 of the yellow and purple crystals. You have room for 3 pink crystals. And each time you place one, you will awaken the corresponding pilgrim. So it doesn't matter what order that you do these in, they are all going to be worth 2 points apiece, no matter where you pull them from. You
want more pilgrims.
Absolutely. Even if you're not going to place them, you still want them because it's 2 points each.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So how do you get crystals? Well, any of the times you see the crystal mark, you will be able to purchase any of these crystals. They will refresh each round. And I believe that's Steph's main criticism about the game, is that the crystals and these pieces over here that we'll talk about here in a second, they disappear so quickly. Even in a 2-player game, which you were surprised about.
And 3 players has exactly the same amount of tiles out. So
right.
Imagine.
Right, exactly. So this costs you nothing. This costs you 1 of anything, and 2 of anything. Notice the little down finger that looks like this, but opposite. That's the opposite of this. It's going to cost you 1 of something instead of saving you 1 of something. So we've talked about the crystals. We've talked about the buildings. Oh, let me describe what the yellow crystals do. Those will give you some sort of ongoing victory point thing. So whenever we travel along a Bitoku path, you're going to get 1 victory point. This one is whenever you take a Bitoku card, you get a victory point. Is that correct? So that's the difference between the check mark and then the one with the hand showing you taking it. So it'd be really good if you could get both of them. These, correct me if I'm wrong, Steph, do these clear at the end of the round or do they shift down? I believe they shift down.
They shift down. Well,
Right.
only the ones at the very end, you see the fire.
Oh, the ones at the
tiny
end
fire.
will get burnt.
Yeah.
Got you. So, let's see what else we've got here. If you place a die over here, Dan says that was an issue. I also didn't love that in a 3-player game, one player is guaranteed not to get 9 actions each round. Only 8 actions possible only 8 possible in 2-player.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, unless one player is really not paying attention and somehow lets the other player get 9 actions, which is really hard to do with 2 players.
Well, there's also all of these spaces up here that we can take, which is good. But
this is great, actually.
Right.
But
that means you're not going to get a forced action and then crossing a river.
But what I'm getting at is there's only 4 spaces available to go across the river, so we're each going to get 8 actions.
Correct.
Round,
so with the actions over here, this is where you can get fireflies or spirits. With the fireflies, you're either going to take a resource, neither spend nor pay resources, and then for these two, pay 1 resource each. And then you will not get what is on the firefly until you have attached a spirit to it. Notice how these little boogers fit together. Just like that. Hey, Dutch Yoda, rating with a party of 9.
Dutch Yoda, welcome in, guys. We're just explaining Bitoku right now.
So notice how these are the things that you will get when you attach a firefly to a spirit, and you have a little spirit there to remind you. Spirits are a little bit different. You will get the ability of the spirit as soon as you purchase the spirit. So you'll purchase a spirit by paying a jade, and you'll get 1 point. Paying a sake, and you'll get 1 point. Paying a sake and either a jade and another sake, and you'll get 3 points. Or 2 sake and either a jade or a third sake, and get 5 points. Now, these are really difficult. They can be really expensive to get, but they will allow you to, A, activate your fireflies, and B, that will give you one of these firefly and spirit combos. And I will explain why you need those here in a second. Now, notice how there are different symbols on these spirits. There are symbols on some of these rocks, like...
It is a lot of game board.
There is a lot here. Like this one here. This will give you bonus points if you can get pilgrims next to this rock that have the green symbol, or alternately the purple symbol if you've made the purple ones act as green. Purple is a special color symbol that can act as another color, just like the Yama Uba card can take the place of a different Kodama card. So, if I had one of these little spirits, then I would get bonus points for every pilgrim I have next to this rock. Well, let's talk a little bit about how we put those pilgrims next to the rocks. Instead of moving a pilgrim, I should put that back in the right order. Instead of moving a pilgrim along this, no, not that one. How do we move? We move this one by the. Where's that?
This is the icon.
This
when
is
you
the
see
icon
an
for
icon,
that.
it's like a little pilgrim face with the circle that looks like a rock.
Got you.
Then you can move a pilgrim from here to here.
So whenever you're taking this river action, you can take one of your awake pilgrims and move him next to anywhere next to where you have a rock. Now, originally Steph thought that you had to place them from left to right, but that, according to the rules, that is not the case.
You have to place the rocks.
You have to place the rocks in a line from left to right, but then you can place one of the pilgrims wherever you want them. And that will give 1 activation or 1 point for every instance of this, and 1 point for every instance of this rock that if you manage to get another rock over here. So I am going to get points for Emomushi cards, either in my hand or my discard or my played area under my board. So let me put that. Each player starts off with 1 rock on the board. We start off with 3 Pilgrims Awake, and we start off with 1 of these vision cards. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and explain those vision cards now. In order to score 4 points at the end of the game, I need to have a crystal. I need to have built a building. I need to have placed a pilgrim on a gate area, and that's it. Now, let's say I get an identical vision card later on. I am going to need another instance of crystal, building, and pilgrim on a gate. Bree says, Bitoku!
Bitoku!
There are actions. There are icons that will basically... Let me see if I can find an example. This Firefly icon has a picture of a die that is being unlocked. This will allow you to unlock one of your 3 dice without a card next to it. So before I've played my cards, I can actually unlock that die. And that will hopefully enable me to jump out onto the forest spaces quicker and across the river quicker in case that is something that I'm really trying to shoot for. Okay, let's see. Is there anything on the board that we have not talked about?
There's one thing in
Bitoku path a little bit.
Okay.
Well, if I decide to take one, I've gone across the river, and let's say I decide to take one of these Kodama cards.
Yeah.
I will put it in my discard pile, and it will become available to me whenever I shuffle up.
Yokai card.
These are yokai cards. Got it. All of the terminology is she'll keep me straight. With the Bitoku cards, you will take this and you will put it along the side here, and then you will travel your little critter
when you get movement.
Whenever you get, what kind of movement is this?
That's the path. That's the stick.
That's what I was trying to say. Whenever you get the stick movement, instead of moving a pilgrim, you can move your little critter along the path.
And get the reward.
And then whatever reward is there, you're going to get. So I'm going to get a vision card and 4 points for this one. Now, the reason why you collect those is for set collection at the end of the game. If you can get different symbols up here, you are going to get increasing number of victory points. 1, 2, 4, 7, 11, 16, and 22 for all 7 colors. Now, it is super important to note there are certain colors that are harder to get than others. Which ones are the hard ones, Steph? I know a yellow one.
It says the number of how many frequency on it.
Where is that?
It's
the 2 stars?
Yeah. So that one is.
So there are 2 of these.
So that's a good one to get early because
you'll see the 2 right here.
Yeah.
So you'll notice some of these are not as rare. 5 of those, 4 of those, 4 of those. So this one is the super rare, and that is one of the super rare Kodamas.
Oh yeah.
Not Kodamas. Yokais. Thank you.
One day.
I'm gonna get it.
By the end.
Well, maybe not. Excuse me. So, there are also these 4 positions that you can put a die in. Instead of putting it in the forest, you can put them out here to get a 2 amulet, a 1 amulet, and a vision card, which again, anytime you see this symbol, it's draw to choose one. The important thing with the vision card is, choose 1 or none.
Or none and get a resource.
Yes, you could choose none and get a resource. If you do not do this vision card, it is worth -1 point, this one here, because it's got one of those little gray fish on there. So make sure that you complete them if you take them. 1 and get either a travel or a resource. And this one, lower one of your dice by 1.
Lower that die by 1.
Yeah, lower that die. And then what is this?
It means, and this is only for 2 players.
Only for 2 players.
It means take a position. If Michael had a 5
pretend
here,
I was there.
I could put my 2 here, make it a 1.
And pretend that was yours.
Use that die as a 5 and take a 5 action in this region.
Including the forest and the building? Now, if your building was here, you would not get the...
Actually, I don't think I get a building. But we have to check that. I think you just get the action.
Check that?
I'll check it.
You check that. While I continue on, with the rules. So, after we have played all of the cards and dice that we can and want to, assuming we've played at least 3 cards, and assuming we have played dice out, whether or not we want to move them across the river, then we're going to do autumn. And that's where the new turn order is decided. Whoever's die is highest in this little area right here, notice that each one of these is noticeably higher than the other ones, is going to go first on the turn order track. If no one puts any dice up here, then we don't change the turn order. And then winter is going to happen. You're going to take your dice back, return them to the red spots on the board. You can place them in whatever positions that you want to place them in, but the dice are going to retain whatever value they were on the board. If you have at least 5 yokai cards amongst your hand and your discard pile and everything, you can permanently get rid of one in order to get the bonus on the bottom.
Yep.
And that you can remove one of them that is on your player board currently, not one that you've got in your discard pile.
One of the 3 cards you've used this round.
Right. Now, this one is going to give you 3 victory points. All of the ones that you have, that you start out with, give you 3 victory points. Let's look at this Advanced Kitsune card. This one is going to give you the sum of 2 of your dice. It's going to give you that number of victory points. And obviously a maximum of 12 because you can't have greater than 2 6s. However, you'll notice that all of the advanced cards besides the Yamauba will have a maximum of 12 on it. Basically, count up your stone and your sake, and that's how many victory points you get to a maximum of 12. It looks like this Imomushi is count up the number of vision cards that you have, and you'll get 2 points per vision card to a maximum of 12. Now, these are good to play throughout the game. You'll only ever discard 4 of these throughout the game.
So do it.
And you won't have any of these played on your board on the first round. So you'll only ever do 3 advanced ones ever.
Advanced ones, yeah.
Right.
You can always get 3 points for your basic.
You can always get 3 for your basic, but you'll only ever do 4 of them. So you probably want to do it. The only catch is the advanced ones give you more abilities when you play the card. So you have to weigh out, do I want the victory points or do I want the abilities? Let's see here. Take all the remaining yokai board cards on your player board, put them in your discard pile, keep any yokai cards that you happen to have in your hand, keep them for the next round. Advance the Great Spirit 1 space forward on the round track and prepare for the next round. Gonna burn each of these ones that is closest to falling off the end. We're gonna replenish everything and draw back up to 4 cards.
To point out a few things.
Yes.
I don't know if you went into detail, but when you do build a building, it's gonna cost the resources shown underneath your cheapest building. So it's on your player board. That's why it's kind of confusing. It looks like nothing. It doesn't cost anything.
It looks like it doesn't cost anything, but it really does.
It does cost the resources on your player board.
So the first building you build, it costs a wood. The second one, a stone. The third one, a wood and a stone. Fourth one, 2 stone. Fifth one, 2 stone and a wood. Sixth one, 3 stone. But these are going to be worth an increasing number of victory points, and it's underneath each of these: 2, 2, 3, 3, 5, and 5.
And so this space here is you activate the space for the ability, but not the building.
Not the building. Well, that's good to know.
And then so also there are this really handy dandy player guide, which
they're
Michael's
super
been
awesome.
reading from, and it has all of the icons you could need, except of course the 2-player one that I looked up. And so and then the end game scoring, it tells you all the points and stuff. So on that, it's
on the back,
it's a really nice.
It's got all of everything that you need. At the end of the game, you're going to get all the rewards you're going to get one last basically income. Which are the purple crystals on there. Whoever is first on the turn order track is going to get 3 victory points. The number of Bitoku types, you're going to get regardless whether you get from 1 to 7 different colors. Now, that's not how far you move along the Bitoku track. That's just how many you have.
Right.
You're going to earn victory points for the position of your kodamas in each of the 5 regions of the forest. You are going to earn victory points next to your Iwakura rocks with your pilgrims next to them. Then you're going to add up the value of your dice plus your resources that you still hold, which is all of your sake and stone and wood and jade. Divide that by 4 and you'll get that many victory points.
Drew, you'll be okay.
AP is real, just looking at this beast of a board. Yes. And you will earn victory points for your completed visions, and you will add up the end game victory points on your player boards for 2 points for each of your pilgrims you've unlocked, and 2, 3, or 5 for your houses. And that should just about do it. I know it when you first see this game, it really looks overwhelming. But there's really not that much to it. Oh, one last thing to mention on the rules. When you build a building, there is a symbol located right here. That's one of 4 different symbols. It's either
gray, yellow,
water, or
blue.
Plant, or it looks like rock.
No, those are the starting
those
ones.
are those. But you must place it in those locations. So you'll notice that I cannot place this red building anywhere in this region here, this forest region. Mm-hmm. I have to place it wherever one of those symbols is. And if none of those symbols are still available, well, too bad for me.
Yeah. Too bad for you.
Too bad for me. Whenever you activate your own building, do not get the resource. Is that correct?
Yeah, you don't get. You get to activate the building, but you don't get the payout.
Correct. You can't activate your own payout.
Yeah.
There are only ever 5 rocks in the game.
Those are 2 players.
For 2 players, yes, and that's the only 5 rocks that will appear.
So not everybody will get to complete all rocks on their board.
Correct.
I think that's about it.
What is this symbol? Is that one of the cards, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's the card type.
Got you. Oh, that's a Shin Ookami.
Yeah.
All right, now I can actually catch up on this. And actually, this is probably a good time to cut the rules portion of the stream and move on to our playthrough. If you are intrigued by the rules that you have heard, stick around. And or if you're watching this on demand later, then hey, check out our playthrough. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.